I bought a Super 8 camera when I was about 10. I saw it in a window in a shop in Swiss Cottage in London. It's a Canon. And I just fell in love with it. I wasn't even sure what you could do with it, but there was just something about it. And I saved up money, pocket money and stuff for about a year and paid it. Like every week I'd pay another bit more. Finally got it. And because at that time it was cheap. I mean, nowadays it's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know, 40 or 50 quid. In those days you could film 3.5 minutes of film and send it off, get it developed. I think it came to about £7 or £8. It was before video, so we didn't have phones to film on, we didn't have video cameras. That was it, 8mm, that was the kind of entry point into cinema. I think it was a kind of continuously rolling cut-up I was working on, which eventually I started projecting them behind 23 Skidoo, who were like a couple of friends of mine, brothers, Alex and Johnny Turnbull. And I started showing the films as they were playing live, and that kind of slowly grew and grew and grew, which led to, on the day they sacked me, funnily enough, at a thing called the Final Academy in Brixton, where William Burroughs came over. I think Genesis Peorage from Psychic TV organised it. It was a free-a-day event, and the Beat Poets came over, and Cabaret Voltaire, Psychic TV, and our band 23 Skidoo played. I think I had my biggest projection setup going on. I had about 20 projectors all in all, and it looked great. Slides and 16, the one at Brixton, we had 16mm, 8mm, 35mm, lots of projectors. That's why I met Derek Jarman that evening, because he just happened to be documenting the whole event, and he liked what I was doing and said, come round for tea. And about a year later I went round for tea, and he said, I've got 3 Smiths videos I've been asked to do. Will you make one? And I went, yeah, and I got paid for it. I thought I could make this into a career. You go into Soho, you just bump into people, things were happening, and 8mm filmmaking and pop music videos were basically the only way into a very heavily trade union and controlled industry. Yeah, Derek Jarman asked me to work with him more after that. I think he's just started to make The Last of England down in the East End on the docks, and I used to turn up, and he just gave me a camera again and said, just film stuff around the edges, and my footage was coming out really good. So when The Garden was going to be made, he asked me to, do the main camera. I was meant to do the whole project, but I fell out with one of the production team, unlike me. And so I only shot all the stuff around Dungeness, which is a shame. I'd love to have done the blue screen stuff. I've got a lot of 8mm archive, which I don't even know what's on it, a lot of it. And we were going through it, and then suddenly this roll popped up on the projector of stuff I'd shot of Derek at night, on the first night of the shoot of The Garden. And it was gorgeous. It was like Derek happy, all the lights up in Dungeness. I think he was doing an Adam and Eve scene, and had the snake from hell or something. And I remember I had a roll of my own film I brought down from London with me, and I thought, no one's really filmed him, filming, so I just squeezed off a few minutes and then forgot about it for 30 years. And then me and you were looking through footage, and we went, oh! And we thought, let's make a little tribute. Yeah, I miss him. Found, especially with him, he'd set up a scenario, and we as cameramen could kind of push it in many different ways. We could, ask Tilda Swinton, can you get up and just run, and I'll run after you, or can you do that or that or that? He was very open to the group cooperative way of working. Which I loved. I thought all filmmaking was going to be that easy. Everyone's got a different approach, I think. A lot of it's memory and saving memory. Maybe it's a kind of psychosis of like, you can't bear, I think that's why people hoard. They can't bear to let time and memory go, and they put it onto objects. So, I used to record the sun and friends because it was just like, oh my God, this is so great. It's so fleeting. Wouldn't it be good if, oh yeah, I've got a camera, I'll do that. It's kind of trying to nail down stuff before you die, I guess. I mean, like with my film Floating, that came from a dream of a boat in a room, and I woke up and I remember, oh, a boat in a room. And then you kind of back think, oh, that sounds a bit like Noah's Ark, maybe. What if the room was in a tower block? What if the father was Noah, but he was going mad and no one believed him, and he was, dismantling the flat to make the boat. So you can always start with one image, and then just see where that will take you. Structure, lighting, atmosphere, the person. And there is no law, you can have the grainiest, shittiest snap, but if it's got it, it's got it, I think nowadays quality, because we're using a lot of everything from very lo-fi sampled stuff. I mean, I'm doing a lot of digital art now, and I'm going into finding stuff all over the World Wide Web and manipulating it and collaging it and making it something else. So in a way, I'm taking many people's ideal perfect moment, pulling out the actors I want, finding the landscapes I want, and I don't have to deal with a film crew. I can just do it on my own, on my phone. Fuck showbiz, yeah. Because I've always loved collage, right from the beginning. Working with blue screen, layering things up. When I was a kid, if I was ill, I used to be given these transfer books where you'd be given a landscape and you could rub down soldiers or storming a fort or cowboys and Indians fighting. And I think that kind of stuck as a way of working, just making, I'd quite often pile up about 30 cowboys all in a heap, completely surrounded by the Indians, just looking at this heap of cowboys. And I realized even then at the age of 6, hold on, you can, make your own reality. I think I'm always wary of it being boring, and I've got quite a short threshold for if something isn't working, I can feel it. So I think my own almost OCD kind of nature tries to avoid anything which goes on too long. Or, I remember at art school, St. Martin's, it was kind of art-based filmmaking, but we got outside filmmakers who came in. And I remember one was a film, it was a locked off shot of a tree that went on for an hour. And I think every 20 minutes you might have changed focus. I remember 5 minutes in, whispering to her, does anything else happen? And she went, not really. So I just nipped off to the pub for 55 minutes and came back for the last 5 minutes. So that's what to avoid, an hour-long shot of a tree. Don't ever do that. Everyone's got a camera. Everyone can film, and everyone does, but not everyone makes something that a lot of people might want to watch. I love the fact that everything is available, from film to digital to pinhole camera, a shadow on a wall. People are kind of making images pretty much from using every kind of device. And it's all valid, all of it. Because a lot of my 8mm exists in the digital world. It's got a look, definitely, but you can fake that now, really convincingly. So I think it just had its uses then. It was it was made for the amateur, but funny enough, it became the tool of the professional, artist. I think a lot of the good ideas come from the subconscious, and if you can write them down and pull them apart, you're going to get the good stuff. I know David Lynch is another huge favourite. He uses Transcendental Meditation. I don't. I just sort of gaze off into the distance. or as I'm waking up or going to sleep. It's about 7 minutes into that process. Quite often all the good stuff comes when you're not awake and you're not asleep. What I loved about making music videos is you were always using the cutting edge technology. You know, the new cameras, the new lighting, the new, I saw everything go from analog to digital. I was cameraman, so I shot my own work. I edited my own work. Sometimes I used my house as a location. Sometimes I was in it, like with New Order. I'm in it all the way through. And that came from I think I'd made an 8mm film with my friend Tim Burke for about 10 quid. And it's just, we were bored one day and it's me and Tim bouncing ideas off each other as these two characters. And I sent that to New Order's people. And they said, yeah, we really like that. Can you remake it? Here's 30,000 instead of like 10 quid. Yeah, I mean, my early films, my first 8mm experiments, it was a bit like the Futurists. It was all about speed, light, take loads of amphetamines, go out with a camera, film everything on single frame. Yeah, I think quite often my useless directing advice to an actor, quite often I'll just shout, stop acting. Because when people stop acting, quite often it happens. The reality happens in, the real fragility happens. Oh yeah, we did a video for Scroobius Pip down here. And they're all local kids, mainly young adults. We shot it in a new office block down here that had just opened. And yeah, I thought I'd base it around, I've been to a lot of counselling and groups, and it is quite funny what happens at counselling groups, but also a lot of truth gets said. In my video, I didn't go right into, some types of counselling, but the group therapy thing kind of interested me. And him as a performer, he could be a lecturer. The way he delivers, he's telling you facts. Listen to the facts. So I had him as a lecturer teaching, because there's a lot of unemployment and poverty down here, and underused talent of teenagers and young people, and it's a real shame because what it needs is more projects, but with real teeth to them, with real backing, not something which will pop up for a month and then disappear. Something which is going to last for years. Well, I never felt I was in the industry or part of it. I always felt like an outsider who was just getting away with it. I don't think it was part of the imposter syndrome because I knew I could do it, but I always felt everything was, you'd be lucky to get another job. It never felt like a stable career. There was no guidance as to how to play this game. You kind of went from, they'd come to you often, the band, you never knew who was coming at you next. I think I should have been more proactive and sort of pursued particular bands I was interested in. I just got lucky for a long period. Start filming on a Monday or Tuesday, we'd edit it, we'd get it to the chart show by Friday night. We'd go out raving all night. We'd come back in the morning, stagger home, put the telly on, it'd be the chart show, and there would be one of your videos, like, Ebenezer Good. And everything seemed like a perfect circle of life imitating art, because like Mr. C and the Shaman, I used to go to his club and, then he copied my haircut. I used to have bleached, short hair. And then I get asked to make him video for him, and then that gets to #1. And then you're at his club the night before, you come home, you're watching him on telly on something you've made. It just seemed like everything was in sync. Then I worked with New Order from then. And then all sorts, Queen, Paul McCartney, Sinead O'Connor. We went over to Ireland and I was meant to make a documentary with her. And that all changed, and I made a video for Thank You for Hearing Me. And it cost about 70 or 80,000, which is, not much, but it's a lot, for... and then they decided it was too sort of natural and documentary-like. They wanted something more visually special effecty. So they just chucked that in the bin. In fact, I love that video. It's very non how a video normally is. It's quite naturalistic, and she's vulnerable in it. And at the time, that was how I felt about her. She was quite vulnerable. Polystyrene from X-Ray Specs, who I made a video for her down here. Got her to kind of start re-recording music again, and then I'm working on a long format documentary about her. It's about an hour long. It's called Identity. And then one day I was just sitting in George Street and I saw this girl disappearing off into the distance, and I thought, that's Polystyrene, because I'd seen them play in 1978 at the Roundhouse, because punk was my first, I was like a 16-year-old punk, and the Roundhouse was my local. We just became friends, and I was just amazed. I mean, she was a bit like me. She kind of bailed out the whole thing. She'd sort of stopped recording or doing music, and I kept thinking, this is ridiculous. You're too good not to be making music. So I started filming her, rehearsing. I mean, there's one scene. She's at home. She kept a very clean house, and she's just rehearsing to a tape of Germ-Free Adolescent as she's cleaning the pots and pans and dusting. And she was actually doing that, so I just had a camera and I went, God, because she is, and was an extraordinary, extraordinary woman. Making Frank was, it was almost like therapy. I'd sort of left London, I'd stopped making music videos. I kind of talked my way out of a career pretty much by telling commissioners they weren't right. Don't do that. And so I came down here. I remember about 2007, I thought, I just kept seeing lots of bad English films being made, and I thought I really need to write one. Took me about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I just I'm going to write another one, because it was, you have to treat writing like a job. You get up, have a cup of coffee, you sit down in front of a laptop for minimum 3 hours a day. And then after about 2 years or a year and a half, or even sooner, you've got a film script. And then it went through about 19 drafts, and then you try and get money, I mean, Frank, we made a feature film for, I think it cost £135,000, which isn't even one day's food budget on most films. We had a 28-day shoot, all on location. It was Siska Faulkner. Well done. She produced it. How she got that produced, I don't know. And of course, it never lives up to how you see it in your head when you write it. And you think, oh, why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that? But, it is what it is. Well, I'm surprised there isn't a kind of low-budget feature film and short film channel, because there's a lot of stuff that never gets seen. Someone out there, just get all of these, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Get it all together and just broadcast it. I mean, how expensive can that be? As a digital channel. Yeah, I've had a few fallouts. But I think that's, if you're passionate about the work, you have to stand your ground. Some things aren't worth fighting for in the end. I think my advice to young filmmakers, choose your battles wisely. And don't bite the hand that feeds. That's also a good one. I mean, eventually, I suppose we will all be broadcasting, transmitting all the time. Everyone will be a constant feed, which anyone can tap into. I guess that's the next step. Well, that's the greatness of film when it works, especially, documentary. It captures those moments that they're just gone. If you don't press record, it's all gone.